Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I'm Janice Marie Johnson, the commissioned lay minister here at Community Church, and I welcome you on behalf of our ministry team, our staff, and all our lay leaders. It is good to be together, both in person and online. Community Church is a multiracial, multicultural, multi-generational congregation with a vision and commitment to build a world grounded in equity and inclusion. With me today is Jerry Brown, our director of music, our talented choir, Brother Zachary Stevens Walter, our chaplain for pastoral care, and Reverend Peggy Clark, our senior minister. Darnell White, our musician in residence, is on a national tour and will return to us in December. Community Church is in transition. We have sold our church building and are in the process of finding another one in this neighborhood. We are guests here at the Church of the Incarnation in the meantime, for which we are grateful, even if this beautiful space isn't perfectly reflective of our theology. Children are always welcome during worship. Feel free to move around the space or move back and forth to join programming happening in the loft. The sound of our babies crying or children fidgeting is a beautiful part of being in community. Masks are optional, but encouraged. We ask that everyone be respectful of each other's decisions and need for personal space. Today's service is the first annual Arts Sunday service. Now, please rise in body or spirit and let's sing together our opening hymn, Morning Has Come, number 1000 in the Teal hymnal.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm up here. This is a very different vantage point, and there's a reason we don't usually do this, which is that our theology is much more horizontal than this. But for today, we're trying something new. We're doing really, it's a utilitarian reason. We have a dancer with us, and we're trying to open up the space a little bit. But it also feels a little like, community church is in transition, and every once in a while you want to shake things up. So let's see what this feels like. And here we are. This is first annual Art Sunday. It is my hope that every year we not only have Art Sunday, but that we really build on this. This is sort of at the very beginning, just a little bit, what might this look like? And I'm hoping that every year we add new pieces so that we create a robust program. Let us begin. We are the artists, with our open minds and ready hearts, with our creative spirits and expressive bodies. We are the artists of our own lives, designing communities of compassion, building opportunities for inclusion, creating networks of justice. With our singing and drawing and dancing and writing and painting and performing, we are creating a new world. Come, let us walk this spiritual path together. We will light our chalice. First we will sing, then we will speak. Please rise in body or in spirit for us to do this together.
The flame of our heritage. May it ignite hope in our lives, in our community, and in the world. Please join me for our unison affirmation. Unto the Church Universal, which is the depository of all ancient wisdom and the school of all modern thought, which recognizes in all prophets a harmony, in all scriptures a unity, and through all dispensations a continuity, which abjures all that separates and divides, and always magnifies humanity and peace, which seeks truth in freedom, justice in love, and individual discipline in social duty, and which shall make of all persons one beloved community. Unto this church and unto all its members, known and unknown throughout the world, we pledge the allegiance of our hands and hearts.
Through every land by
We are gathered on the unceded land of the Lenape peoples. We acknowledge the Lenape community, their elders, both past and present, as well as future generations. This acknowledgement demonstrates a commitment to beginning the process of working to dismantle the ongoing legacies of settler colonialism. Now I invite you to greet your neighbors in person and virtually, and make a joyful noise.
Hey, your neighbor. Good to have you back. Be careful.
Happy birthday to you.
Take it slow.
Peace. Pa. Pe. Pace. Shalom. Salam. Shanti. Shalom. Salam. Shanti. Peace. 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 Hidden life, vibrant in every atom. O hidden light shining in every creature. O hidden love, embracing all in oneness. May each one who feels as one with thee know they are also one with each other.
That was a very inspiring dance, thank you. Good afternoon. William Ernest Henley, poet, critic, and editor, born August 23rd, 1849 in Gloucester, England, actually a great-great-uncle of mine. In 1861, he wrote his famous poem Invictus while recovering from surgery after the loss of a leg with tubular arthritis, expressing his courage through suffering with the disease. Invictus is an ageless work that will continue to inspire the strength that all of us have within us to cope with our challenges. Invictus. Out of the night that covers me, black as the pit from pole to pole, I thank whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul. In the fell clutch of circumstance, I have not winced nor cried aloud under the bludgeonings of chance. My head is bloody but unbowed. My head is bloody but unbowed. Beyond this place of wrath and tears looms but the horror of the shade, and yet the menace of the years finds and shall find me unafraid, unafraid, unafraid. It matters not how strait the gate, how charged with punishment the scroll. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. Beyond this place of wrath and tears looms but the horror of the shade, and yet the menace of the years finds and shall find me unafraid, unafraid, unafraid. It matters not how strait the gate, how charged with punishment the scroll. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul.
I knew art before I knew words. 2 years old, waking up from that time in the art house on Forest Avenue in Detroit, 1969. It was the giant mural on the wall across from my crib that quelled the instinct to cry. That mural was painted by a transient guest who came to hear my father's jazz band play and stayed for the endless possibilities living in the blankness of our walls. Those larger-than-life curvy blue lines like massive ocean waves and mellow yellows of sunshine rays replaced tears with curiosity. I remember staring at that mural and feeling calm, comforted, and not alone. Art was in the streets, too. I have early memories of sitting on the shoulders of grown-ups in the throes of protest against the Vietnam War and Richard Nixon. I remember looking out over the vast crowds, a sea of humans marching, shouting, and singing with painted faces, colorful signs, and giant papier-mâché puppets bobbing up and down. I didn't know what was going on, but it was clear that there was a problem and a purpose, and in my child mind, these signs and puppets were helping the cause. I was learning that art had the power to heal and make change. In elementary school, art was my favorite class, the one place where there were no rules, only an endless range of colors and mediums to choose from, and a green light from the teacher to imagine and create. A makerspace, a sanctuary of sorts for an unchurched girl. Walking into the art room, I remember the inviting smell of glue paste and paint, and feeling the dried, colorful clumps stuck to the raw wood tables like tactile stories told by students who came before. Maybe I too could make art that healed and inspired change. Already there were so many things I wished would change. Art was my first meaningful relationship. It was also my first foray into faith of any kind. But as a young adult, that faith would be tested. I became obsessed with filling the page. Coloring every corner of a canvas was a compulsion, as if leaving no space blank, I somehow could ensure the full effect of art's power to transform. There were so many things about the adult world that I wanted to transform. The more complicated life became, the more lines I drew, the more colors I chose, and the more obsessive I became about controlling the process. My first meaningful relationship was turning toxic, and my faith in art was gradually slipping into crisis mode. I wouldn't call myself an artist and cringed if anyone else dared. But secretly there were drawings, writings, and pieces of music written and hidden in spaces at home. The process of making was more of an exorcism, and the product an object of self-loathing, a reminder of all that I couldn't control, no matter how full the page or how covered the canvas. Then I found community, my first and only church. Initially goaded by a friend to attend, my skeptical adult mind expected rules, judgment, and fear to lead me out of the sanctuary faster than I'd entered. After all, the only sanctuary I'd ever trusted was the art room in school, and whatever faith in the process I was supposed to have built there had betrayed me. But here I was, in a space as diverse as the art house in Detroit, as actively engaged in causes for change as the protesters whose shoulders I'd ridden on as a child, as full of artists and great minds as those I was surrounded by growing up. At that time, I can't say that my faith instantly returned. What I can say is that something in my heart came alive, and that something was rooted in the place where art, activism, and family connect. There were no rules, and only an endless range of possibilities and a green light from a faith community to be and believe as I choose. It was at a church retreat in 2011 that I had my most transformative learning experience in an art class with Ellen Mandelbaum. Walking into the room, something welled deep inside me, both comforting and nerve-wracking at the same time, as if I were about to meet an old flame. Art, my first meaningful relationship. On the table were large pads of paper, clean and clear and full full of possibility. What might have felt for some like an open invitation, for me instead felt like a test. It would turn out to be a test of faith. I'm excited to show what I know, I thought, and terrified at the same time that the messiness of my toxic process will reveal itself and ruin everything. Fine, I thought, worst come to worst, I'll draw more lines and choose tons of colors to abstract my mistakes. That's when I noticed that the only other element on the tables were sticks of fine charcoal. In that moment, the only safe place my faith could find was in that initial glimmer of hope that was awakened when I'd first come to community. Inhale through the nose, breathe out through the mouth. Breathe in love, breathe out peace. Ellen asked us to choose a subject in the room to draw. The exercise was to draw without looking down at the paper at all. Our eyes would only focus on the subject. Mine was the face of a friend sitting across from me. How in the world could anyone draw anything accurately without looking down? My ego was wreaking havoc, and my instinct to control the situation was overwhelming. This drawing could offend my friend if it's miserable. People might laugh at my haphazard lines and curves to nowhere. Worst of all, my faith in art, this incredible thing with the power to heal, comfort, and transform, may betray me a second time, and I wasn't sure I could withstand that. Nevertheless, this was, after all, a church retreat, and I had a reverent respect for Ellen's artistic expertise. For me, it was like standing at the edge of a cliff, toes dangling. It's only charcoal, I told myself. I can simply rub my whole hand over the thing when I'm done, and it'll disappear into a blur. That's when Ellen explained the point of the exercise. The practice is in celebrating the empty space, she said, and trusting that whatever unfolds without looking will be its own beautiful creation. It was an invitation to have faith that imperfections are an integral part of beauty and art. To have faith that somewhere in the letting go of control lives a partnership with the unknown, which creates magical moments where awe and wonder unfold. I was reminded of the prophetic words from John Cage in his writing of 10 rules for both students and teachers. There is no win and no fail. There is only make. As my charcoal hit the page and I looked steadily forward at the contours of my friend's face, my stomach gradually untied its knots, and I could feel my hands and head almost weightless as the drawing developed. Who knew what would be there when I looked down? But we were all going through it together, and everyone had to be thinking the same thing. The weightlessness lifted my spirit to a place where my faith could settle. Suddenly, it was no longer about the individual outcome, as much as it was about a celebration of mutual discovery. My ego had finally left the room, and what was left in its wake? Self-acceptance, shared joy, and love of community.
Hallelujah, hallelujah.
I'm sure you've all heard me say that there are two well-worn spiritual paths in this congregation, art and action. Today, to create this service, I've invited people, or in some cases just used people's work. So I've invited people, like Jill, to write the reading for today. I have stolen from Joel the offertory, hoping that his gorgeous music can be brought into this space. We asked Jonathan to sing. We are creating liturgy through the talent of those with us. And next, we have Ellen, who is a visual artist who's been working largely in stained glass. She installed the window that we had in our old space. We're hoping her glass will be installed into our new space. She's going to speak this morning about her work and some of the things that she's brought here. Liturgy is also an art. Worship is living poetry. The space in which we worship together is a reflection of our theology, made manifest through the spoken word, through music, through ritual, all supported by the physical space we're in, which creates the context for this living art. And while this space isn't ours and it doesn't reflect our theology well, it is still a beautiful representation of the artists who created it and the theology of the people who have been worshiping here since the 19th century. In fact, this space is so beautiful. People walk in and out all day long just to breathe it in. And now, Ellen will come speak.
Hello.
Hello.
So, Art Sunday. I was wondering how to talk about Art Sunday in this borrowed church without media. No projector, no screen to show pictures. Aha! I realized we have pictures all around us in the stained glass. Not only that, but they are some of the best quality stained glass in New York City. I've been here before, came with a professional tour of stained glass in the city. I'd like to show you. You probably don't have to stand yet, but in a little while, one of our windows will be behind you. On my left, the very first one over there is Tiffany. You should just know that we have quality work like Tiffany. That was a memorial window. I think they're all memorial windows. That was one of the first Sunday school teachers. Next to it is a window dedicated to infant children by William Morris, an English artist of the arts and crafts movement, one of the styles on the way to modern art. He values the gorgeous, flat colors. That's the one with the angels, next one over. He values the gorgeous, flat colors of transparent glass and handmade decoration. Simple stained glass about infant children. You can see the angels at the top. The windows here are all made by different artists, each paid for, dedicated by a patron, like the next one, dedicated to two children who died as infants by John Lafarge. One was George Whitman. This baby lived for a couple of years. Lafarge was a major painter, a competitor of Tiffany for the patent of inventing opalescent glass. The glass, several layers, are often fused together to create interesting sheets, thicker than the glass that had used before. You could see it in nighttime, reflecting light falling on surface. Most stained glass requires light from behind and goes dead in the evening. I particularly love this work. God the Vintner, that's the third one over. Look at the deep, rich colors, the twisting patterns, beautiful painting on the border, beautiful children commemorating death. If you have a chance later to just go over and look at that, some of that glass more closely, it's remarkable. Now, way down at the end of the sanctuary, you may have to stand. I'm not sure you can see it from where you are. It's on the right. A few windows towards the entrance door. This it's got white in the middle. It's on the right. The white in the middle is glowing. This is Tiffany, Victory Over Death. Simple, gorgeous shapes of the right patterned robe move up to heaven. On the right, look, on the right, honestly.
Against this
The right wall. No, it's way down there, the right wall. I should have had someone stand by it. Can anyone see it? I'm not sure if it's visible from where you are. Get a chance to look later. The white patterned robe moves up to heaven. The opal, there he is, he's got it. The opalescent glass used is actually called Drapery Glass. This is by Frederick Wilson, arguably Tiffany's best designer. You can see the pointed arches in this room. They were developed to let more light into the Gothic cathedral and allow for massive walls of glowing colors of stained glass. Take a minute to get back to your seats, okay? Don't mean to distract you. The stained glass light was precious and described by many theologians, including Bishop Durand de Mende in the 13th century. Stained glass writings, stained glass windows, he said, are divine writings that spread the clarity of the true Son, who is God, through the church, that is to say, through the heart of the faithful, bringing them true enlightenment. People of the Middle Ages were entranced by the strange, even magical way in which the stained glass windows shimmered like precious stones. Amazingly, I got to make art with this glorious medium. Around 1980, discovering it rescued me from a deep depression and inability to work. I've been an artist all my life, studying hard and making beautiful paintings. I tried to get a gallery to make it in the art world, but failed miserably. For example, a dealer would promise to visit my studio to see my work and stand me up. I lost my joy in working until a friend gave me a tiny glass Star of David, which set me on my way to making stained glass myself. I built up my practice until I was able to command big architectural commissions. I've had the honor to make art, not just with paint on paper, but for an enclosed space with windows that create a sacred space. One of them is Marion Woods, a convent nearby. I made 32 windows for this home for retired nuns. Over there, the vertical one, this is a window dedicated to the Virgin Mary. The rose is her symbol. See it down there, right? You got it? You can see the beauty and spiritual power of the light coming from the sun or God in the heavens, glorious colors, project onto the windowsill from the glass nearby. In 1998, I was commissioned to make stained glass for our community church, dedicated to John McKnight, an important member. The late Reverend Hope Johnson was one of the 3 congregants on the committee to supervise my art. Of course, they gave me support and freedom. That's the horizontal one over there. Some of you may remember it. The window is placed in the middle of the south wall under the balcony. It was a hidden treasure. Few people noticed it, but those who did loved it. Leonore Tiefer said she sat on that side of the church every week to be near it. I made this story the symbol of a holy tree universal to many cultures. I first saw it as a weeping willow on gravestones in an old New England cemetery near me. A holy tree is worshipped in many cultures. The tree of life in Judaism. Hope told me about the baobab tree in Africa. You can see that tree, in mine you can see the tree up close, painted delicately on the blue glass in the center. The window is in storage now and can come with us when we have a new church to inspire us and help make us feel at home. Thank you.
Joan of Arc was being interrogated by the Inquisition. Now, I've never actually been a fan of Joan's, but nobody deserves the Inquisition. They were doubting her spirituality and her spiritual authority, and they really, in some ways, they were mocking her. With self-righteous and dismissive sarcasm, one man said, "You're telling us that God speaks to you in your imagination." With conviction of her experience, she replied, "Where else would God speak to me if not in my imagination?" I may not be a fan of Joan's, because war really isn't anything I ever want to applaud, but I don't doubt her experience of hearing God's voice in her imagination. In fact, I bet plenty of people are called to new, bold steps, to bigger, more creative lives because of the voices and inspiration captured in their imaginations. Imagination is the beginning of art. It's the field into which the human self travels, where we hear our deepest voice, our deepest voices, all the voices of all the selves we are. Some of those voices are ego, and some move beyond ego into something quieter, less finished, not as refined. That raw voice can be heard in our imaginations if we're willing to listen carefully. It is a voice of truth, a voice of one of our truths, and it is the beginning of art. When ego steps aside, we access the artist. Now, how many of you would define yourselves as artists? Do a couple. Okay, by the time we reach our 5th Art Sunday, I'm gonna have a lot more hands, I'm just saying. So in casual conversation, I actually don't define myself as an artist. I usually claim that space in conversations as the wife of an artist. My husband's really been supporting us for 25 years as a musician. He has 6 CDs, he's written some gorgeous music. And there's tangible evidence of his art. And I'm included in artist circles by association. I know myself as a creative spirit, but artist isn't really a title that I'd readily declare. And with that said, I do claim the title of theologian, and theology is an art. Theology is a combination of art and science and psychology and ministry. It's a poetic declaration of what exists in the world, a use of imagination and language to declare truth in the spaces where very little is known. I live in that space. I spend a lot of time writing sermons. I mean, a lot of time. I write and I don't really know where I'm going. I start usually with stories, hopefully from my own experience, but sometimes they're stories I'm just making up. They're not even true, or at least they're not factual. And I follow those stories to see where they might lead, to find out what that story is trying to reveal. And for most of my time crafting a sermon, I just write in the hope that I might stumble on some kind of truth. I write and I cut and I delete and I start again. I go back to blank pages and I go back to pages I'd already started. I do that for a good long time. That's how theology feels to me. Like you just have to keep moving in to try to get it. When I was about 7, a friend of mine got her hands on a bowl of mercury, you know, that liquid metal that you find inside a thermometer. And don't worry, yes, my mother was horrified, but she and I sat in her room and we played with this mercury. We spilled it on the floor and tried to put our fingers in it, and we kept trying to grab it, right? But it would slide out. You couldn't quite capture it. Right? Theology is the same way. It's this idea of grabbing and missing. Writing sermons is often about sort of pointing to where the mercury went or where it was, where the truth might be, rather than actually being able to hold on to it perfectly. And for me, that's an art, and it is part of my spiritual practice. And I realize that my art locates me squarely in the context of 21st century UU ministry. UU ministers have, with or without intention, shifted prose and poetry into the realm of sacred language. We don't read from the Bible on Sunday mornings in general, but we almost always bring poetry, both as readings and as poetic prose, as a way of pointing to truth. It is, in many respects, our sacred language. And it would make sense that we do this. The Protestant Reformation shifted theological authority to the eye, requiring the faithful to read the Bible through personal experience. And then with the Enlightenment, we added reason to our bag of tricks. And by the time the Transcendentalists, most of whom were Unitarian, came around, reading another's words through your own experience transformed into writing your own words. From Emerson forward, fresh speech is understood as holy utterance, grounded in the concept of the priesthood and prophethood of all believers. So I would suggest that our use of poetry and the centrality of the sermon and spoken word during worship has evolved such that our words are now understood to be our sacred language. This means that today isn't Art Sunday as much as every Sunday is Art Sunday. Poetry and prose and music and ritual and hopefully soon dance are our sacred language, originated in our imaginations and made manifest in our liturgy. Which is why I love that quote from Joan of Arc. How else would God speak to me if not in my imagination? We know truth in our imaginations and articulate that truth in language, music, dance, image. We explore our own minds and then translate our experience and insight into tangible form, making it accessible for both seekers and passersby. And that tangible form is our art. It is the manifestation of our deepest selves an offering of who we are and all we know in any particular moment. It is our self-expression, the articulation of our whole selves, our desires, our recognition of what is, and our hopes for what might be. Art is prayer. It is holy utterance. We are surrounded by it. We create it. We share it. We appreciate it. As a worship community, we lean into and live into it, inspired, sometimes fulfilled, often spurred on by it. Art is our spiritual path, and if we listen closely to our own imaginations, where all creativity begins, we too might hear the voice of God. Please rise in body or in spirit, and let's sing number 1024, when the Spirit says do. It's in the TL hymnal.
So life at Community Church is busy, whether we're online or in person. It is our hope that wherever you are and in whatever way you are comfortable engaging in the mission and ministry of this church, we have provided opportunities for you. We're starting our Spanish language appreciation group again. Delora La Café. Esther Rosado will meet anyone interested on Monday at 2:30 on Zoom. Check the calendar for the link. Also on Monday, Brother Zachary is holding a session of his new group, Prioritizing Mental Health, at 8 p.m. in our main Zoom room. There will also be a gathering of our community crafters on Tuesday and Art with Ellen on Thursday. Again, see our calendar for more information. On Sunday, October 23rd, there is a congregational meeting. This is an online meeting before worship. Online before worship. We hope to see all of you there. And now an important announcement about worship times. I'm hoping that this is good news for many of you. We're going to start worship at 2 rather than 3. We'll start that on October 30th. 2 p.m. worship starts, not 3 p.m. This is a 7-day church, and we have programs that run every day of the week. You can find more information about our programs in the calendar and on our website. Now our ushers are going to pass a plate for our collection. If you are new here, please let the plate go by you with no pressure to give. We're grateful for your presence. Now, all gifts offered are accepted with deep gratitude.
Whatever we can do, or dream we can do, let us begin this day. Boldness and genius and power, magic in it, let us be.
Sometimes the music is so beautiful, I forget to stand up. Please join me in our Chalice Extinguishing. It is in your program. Knowing how quickly the flame of truth may be extinguished, how easily the chalice of fellowship broken, let us be vigilant in faith, keep peace in our hearts, and make care for one another the watchword of our lives together. So our light goes out everywhere into the world. May the light go out everywhere. Healing and hope are needed. Let us go in peace to love and serve the world and one another. It's good to be with you.